These are the early buds of Douglasfir. These little green clusters here. And they're fully edible.
Really?
Yeah, you just pluck one and try it if you want. And one thing with most wild edible plants is they just taste green, almost like lettuce.
Right.
But yeah, they're fully edible. Yeah.
How interesting.
Yeah. So you can just sit here all day.
Very
if you want
tender.
to just pluck.
Very, very
just pluck
tender.
one. Yeah,
How does
yeah.
it taste?
Yeah, it's nice.
Nice?
Yeah. I mean, green.
Green,
Yeah,
yes,
it
yeah,
smells
yeah.
Green.
good.
Yeah, yeah.
Green, and the taste is kind of green.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
almost like lettuce. Most wild edibles are like that. They're basically they just taste
Right.
green, almost like lettuce.
And a little hint of pine
Yes.
tree or pine
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, a little hint of pine. It's delightful.
But you can literally pluck them right off the tree at this time of the year and eat them right there. Yeah.
So who needs lunch?
But what happens? You touch this plant.
And it will release.
You'll see all these little hairs that are on this. A little easier to see on the stem. See all these little hairs? little pricklies?
Yeah.
They break off and they get into your skin and it'll give you a really, really bad rash that lasts for about a day.
Right. No,
Yeah.
I've been through
Yeah.
stinging nettle, and
Yeah.
we have some versions in California. It's not nettle. I don't know what is. It looks a little different.
Yes, we have two different kinds of nettle here. We have stinging nettle and wood nettle. Stinging nettle grows out where there's lots of sunlight, and wood nettle grows where there's lots of shade.
So
yeah.
maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
But boy, you could be all covered with.
Yeah, it'll give you a really, really bad rash.
Yeah, and some
yeah.
people are very allergic to it.
Exactly.
And it could be really, really painful.
Yes, but if you take this and you boil it down, you use gloves and you gather it up,
It's so good.
and you boil it down, all those little hairs fall off, and it's fully edible. It tastes like spinach.
It's actually actually very nutritious.
Yes, it's really highly
extremely
nutritious.
high.
Yeah,
Good for your hair also.
Yes. Yeah. So that's the nettle there.
That's the nettle.
Yeah, and if we were out here like, I don't know, another 2 months from now, we'd be out here and right by this stinging nettle, we would see jewelweed growing. And jewelweed is the cure for the rash that you get from the stinging nettle. It grows right beside the other.
Amazing.
So if you get...
So nature provided you with it.
Yeah, it provides you with a remedy for whatever ails you, you know?
For as long as you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
How fascinating.
Yeah. I don't even touch this stuff. This is giant hogweed that's growing in here. And it's got a chemical in the sap of the giant hogweed that's, what do they call that?
Reacts to photosynthesis.
UV reactive. Where if you get this chemical on your skin, it could be a day like today and you wouldn't have a problem with it or anything like that. But as soon as the sun comes out and it hits that chemical on your skin, it'll give you a really bad chemical burn. Like a really, really bad chemical burn. Like blisters and everything. Some people even needed surgery to get it taken care of. So.
Okay, so that needs to...
Never touch.
This is giant hogweed. If you ever see this, stay clear of it. Don't let your dogs run through it. I've seen little kids that have run through it and had giant blisters all down their arms and stuff like that. So yeah.
Wow.
I'm surprised that it's here considering they just had people over here planting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, you'll find this all over the city, and very seldom is there actually
Really?
like a plaque that's up saying to stay away from it.
And that's so crazy because I mean, if you don't know and
Exactly.
in a city,
Yeah.
oh, that's scary.
Well, that's giant hogweed right there, and this stuff is nasty, 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 nasty.
Wow. Thank you. Oh, now that's...
I'd rather have poison ivy on my butt than have this, that's for sure.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Smells absolutely awesome.
What do you do with it?
I love this stuff because you can take it and take a handful of it, put a little bit of water into a bowl, and put it down on your table at your house, and you'll have this pine-smelling, fresh, really amazing smelling stuff going through your whole
you're
house.
giving away the secrets of sage.
Yeah,
You're a
yeah.
SAG.
You just
Yeah, exactly.
basically put it in water and that's all you do, Terry?
Yeah, you just put a little bit of water, and then you drop it into almost like a plate. You don't need a whole lot, just a little bit, and you just drop it into the plate, and you'll have this smell through your whole house, and it'll last like that for about 2 weeks.
How lovely.
And then if you want, to recharge it, just go back outside, grab another handful, throw it back into the bowl, and it'll go through your whole house, and it smells like, like a pine cleaner.
Like so hot water, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And another great thing about this is you can make tea with it. You can take it and other than as a sage, you can make tea with it. You just pluck it right off green, throw it into a pot, boil it up for about 10 minutes, and it's really, really high in vitamin C. Yeah, and it actually tastes pretty good too. So.
Oh, and I remember part of the last lesson you gave, or Izzy gave it. I know that the natives, when they discovered people coming from Europe, colonists.
Yeah.
Some of them were very, very malnourished.
They were sick because of scurvy. They were sick because of scurvy because on the boats they would carry like oranges and things like that on the boats, oranges and lemons, and that's how they would get their vitamin C on the boats. But the rats would get into it. A lot of the time, stuff would happen to it, and it would end up spoiling and stuff like that. So when they finally got here, the natives saw them, and they saw that they had
scurvy.
They had scurvy. And the scurvy is a really, really nasty disease because it basically eats away at your extremities. Your earlobes, the end of your nose, your lips, they basically just rot and fall off. Terrible way to go. But when they first got here, they were dying of scurvy. And the natives saw that these people were dying of scurvy. And the Europeans at the time didn't know that you could get vitamin C from the cedar. So they went and they made them up a tea. And these guys were on the verge of death. And within like 2 or 3 days, they came right back to health and everything else. So it was the natives that actually saved the first boatloads of Europeans that came over here. Because they were dying. Exactly. And that's why we make that story. Is because I don't know if it was a good move on their part. Because, but that's actually the story behind that. And it's a really good bug deterrent, too. You can take this.
I was going to say, so is this what they make the cedar chests and stuff to repel mosquitoes and stuff?
Yeah.
So would this be helpful to have it in your house against
exactly.
No, not the mosquitoes, the moths.
Moths and spiders and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, they absolutely hate the smell of this stuff. They hate it. So if you're in a wilderness survival situation, you can make tea out of it, which is really good because you get lots of vitamin C from it. You can use this on the floor of your shelter, and if you have this on the floor, it's really, really springy stuff. So it packs down really nicely and it's really comfortable. And if you put this in your ceiling, you can use it to use as a roof shelter. And the great thing about it is because insects hate it, they hate the smell of it. You've got a floor made out of it and a roof made out of it. You don't have to worry too much about insects. You know? So,
perfect.
Yeah.
Maybe I can design a coat from it.
Yeah, exactly.
Take walks in Algonquin Park, coat and pants.
Yeah. But you'll see old movies where you'll see voyageurs with this stuffed in their hat or stuffed in their boots or stuffed in their socks and stuff like that. And that's the reason that they did it. It was actually to keep away the black flies and the mosquitoes that were constantly chewing on them all the time. Wow. And people thought for the longest time that it was just like an aesthetics thing, like people just did it for like a look or something like that. But no, they actually did it to keep the bugs off them. And,
wow.
Yeah. And in fact, way back in the day when the colonialists first started coming here, this is what they used to keep in funeral homes. They would put this inside of funeral homes because of the smell. It kind of hides the smell of death.
Right.
And they would put this all over in the funeral homes and everything else. So, yeah.
How wonderful.
It's the color that you want to find them. The whole thing should be that bright red color. These aren't healthy. Number one, because they're right beside the road, and they pick up a ton of pollutants all the time and stuff like that. But this is sumac. This is staghorn sumac. And the reason they call it staghorn is because if you take a look at the stem, if you take it and give it a feel, it feels kind of woolly.
Fuzzy.
Yeah, it feels kind of woolly.
Yeah.
Well, when deer's antlers first come in, they get this woolly kind of feeling to them too, and that's how they get the name staghorn sumac. But the sumac is really cool because you can take these little berries and you put up maybe about a piece about that size, and you brew it up in a cup, and you can drink it, and it's absolutely loaded in vitamin C. It's really, really good for you. Absolutely loaded in vitamin C. It has a natural ingredient in it that heats your body up. So if you're ever out camping, make yourself a tea of this before you go to bed. And when you get up in the morning, make yourself a tea of it. And I would recommend that you only make no more than 2 teas a day because it increases your body heat and stuff like that. So your blood pressure and everything. Yeah, exactly. So Yeah, you can take this and drink it just before you go to bed, and when you wake up in the morning, and it'll warm you up super fast, like really, really fast. So,
How fun!
Yeah.
Huh.
And yeah, these are the fruit. These are the seeds right here.
Right.
Yeah, just a bunch of these
And
little
and
seeds.
it's not poisonous clearly or anything.
no.
So how
And
fun.
it's these little hairs that you boil off that you make into a tea, and you pull the rest of the container out, and you toss these in the garbage. But it's those little red hairs that are going to make up the flavoring of the tea, and actually tastes like lemonade. It tastes like lemonade or like a neo-citron. It tastes more like
I just soak these in cold water overnight and make lemonade.
Yeah.
And I filter all the stuff out.
Yeah, yeah.
So you want to pluck out these little dark red ones?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. From
Yeah.
the exterior ones.
Yeah,
which are
but keep in mind, you want one that's going to be very, very bright red.
Oh,
These ones
yeah.
aren't healthy because they're right beside a roadway here,
Right,
and
yeah,
pollution
yeah.
just kills them fast.
Well,
so,
they come out in like July, August, right?
Yeah,
September,
yeah.
But
So
they
yeah.
last through the winter too, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's just when it comes to rebirthing this part.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
happens in the summer.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
So
So
you can only harvest them till like around December normally.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah.
Till it gets.
I usually harvest them in the early fall. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So you have. Oh, okay. They're not like kale or. Whatever.
No, no, no.
Oh.
No. And what's great about these is you can find them pretty much year-round, all over the place. And this tea, if you make this tea and you boil it down and continue to boil it down and boil it down and boil it down, you can use the combination, the mixture at the bottom of it. It'll be really thick and everything else, but you can use that as an antiseptic for your wounds. If you put that on your Band-Aid or whatever, it works basically, like a polysporin or whatever, and speeds up the healing process. So.
Fabulous.
That's staghorn sumac. And this has been here for a few years now, but last year was the first time I had noticed that there were beaver coming back to the area
That's good.
because of the marsh here. So last year we were going through here and we saw a beaver, we saw a muskrat swimming around here
Nice.
and everything else. So
Yeah, sometimes when I see those, like,
it's
I have
good
to look
when
at it
they
up
can,
close to
yeah,
see if
when
it's a
they can
beaver or a muskrat.
renaturalize
Right?
an area, and, yeah.
The flat tail.
Yeah.
Why are there only male ducks here?
That's because the females are usually still with the nests, and the males go out and at this time of the day, and they go and grab food and whatever else, and then the female will go off in the evening or first thing in the morning, and the males will go back to the nest and sit on the
They don't look like they're grabbing food. They look like they're just.
No, they're just chillaxing.
Yeah.
They came when we arrived on the scene. I think they know how a lot of their food comes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was like, as he was saying, like, keep in mind, there's a lot of people that come down here, and I usually come down with like a big bag of seed. I just forgot it today, but
To the ducks, yeah.
yeah, just feed them.
During the winter time, we've seen a whole bunch of them on the ice beneath the bridge, and he tossed it for them, and they all flocked together. Their little orange feet were so orange. Like, I'd never seen them so neon orange before, and they just fighting each other over the food.
Small guys, so.
Take a picture.
Beavers are bigger. Oh, okay. I won't be good though.
No, it's too small.
I won't be able. Yeah, it'll be too small.
Well, that's a sign of a healthy ecosystem.
Well, if you ever want any pictures or anything like that, just send me an email and whatever pictures we get from the trip, because I've got
that's right.
I've got an awesome camera. So
Right. Oh,
yeah.
so you guys are doing.
Yeah, it's like a 70 times zoom on that thing,
Yeah,
high
yeah.
definition and everything else. So,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, I won't be able to zoom this or anything.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
phones aren't very good. So
Yeah, I can't even.
It's just smacking its lips. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
it's chewing on something. Or... Did they just eat anything? They're just kind of.
They're basically just like the beaver. In fact, in many cases, beaver and muskrat live together, and both of them will maintain the same den throughout the year.
Oh.
So yeah,
So they're not
'cause
even like.
they're not rivals or anything. No,
Oh.
they just kind of like chill with each other. They're totally fine with each other. So yeah,
What,
they'll
you
even
mean-
have
you mean they
kids in the
live inside
same den and everything.
Inside the beaver?
Yeah, yeah.
Because they don't build dens, do they?
No, they'll just den with the beavers. Yeah.
Well, then
I'm your roommate for the winter.
They're kind of freeloaders. The beaver don't mind.
Well, they're smaller.
What do they give in
They're
exchange?
smaller. So,
They're
it's
small.
okay.
They're smaller. Okay.
Yeah. And the reason
This
that
guy
the
couldn't be
beaver aren't
chewing on a
bothered
big
by them at
tree.
all is that the muskrat will actually go in there and do repairs to the lodge.
Really?
When the beaver are gone, it'll go in there and see where there's a spot that needs a repair and do a repair to the lodge. So they work kind of like on a
So
symbiotic.
it's like a landlord-tenant relationship.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. The beaver makes the place, and then the muskrat just kind of moves in, and then never leaves. Until the next spring, and then he takes off. But the beaver are totally fine with that because the muskrat maintains the inside of the den and everything
Right,
else. So,
right.
yeah.
Because it's smaller, maybe it can do something that beaver can
Yeah,
do.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, I think you were trying to get at like how does the muskrat help the beaver? Because usually in nature, when they describe that two species are somehow getting along or somehow cooperating, one does something for they do something for each other.
Yeah.
I don't have many examples, but I heard of how when crocodiles keep their mouths really open, there's some bird that likes to
cleans the
come
teeth,
and
Clean
picks
the
at the residues on the teeth,
Yeah.
and then the crocodile will not at all like clamp its jaws shut to swallow the thing. It just lets the bird do its thing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's basically the same thing with the muskrat and the beaver.
I don't know.
Because,
You wouldn't think it's intelligent enough to actually be able to make those decisions, but I guess they are.
Yeah,
I
they
think they're
know.
like dinosaur
They-
reptiles that just.
Well, just recently there was actually I think it was through BBC. They just got recent footage. For the longest time, we didn't really know what happened to muskrats like during the wintertime because they just seemed to like kind of van loose and they were gone.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they ended up they went and put these cameras in these lodges up at Algonquin. And they put these cameras in there just to videotape any movement going through, and then it would turn on the camera, and then once the movement stopped, it would turn off the camera.
Yeah.
And they put it into these lodges, and they actually saw that the beaver and the muskrat were going out, and they were foraging for the same foods, and they would use the same food catches around the lodge and everything else. So it's like the muskrat's actually doing more work for the beaver. He's bringing them more food and stuff like that. They share the food together and everything else. They share the lodge together, and they share the maintenance on the place together and everything else. And then in the spring, they just go their separate ways. And then in the late fall and stuff like that, they come back to the beaver den, and most times just move right in. Beavers don't have a problem with it whatsoever. So.
Right.
But the muskrat make better coats, right?
Yes. Good. It's basically nature's toothbrush. Just pop off one of these segments, like so. Use it like a toothbrush, and it's actually got a silica inside of it that will repair like sensitive teeth and stuff like that. So works really, really good.
It just decreases the sensitivity towards temperature. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess Sensodyne toothpaste then.
Yeah, it's
Has
basically
this
the
in
same
it.
thing. Yeah, basically the same
You just
thing.
chew on it raw, or
Pardon me?
chew on it raw, or
You basically just pop one of the sections off because it looks almost like bamboo, and you can pop it into sections.
just the stem?
Yeah, just pop
Not this part.
No. Just pop the one of the sections off, and you can just use it just like that and brush your teeth with it. Yeah. So it's nature's toothbrush, and it's good for people with sensitive teeth too. So.
And it reduces cavities and all that, or prevents cavities?
Yeah. It
Oh,
actually
so
improves the enamel on your teeth.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah.
Oh.
And this is this horsetail, this plant, has been around since before the dinosaurs, and it hasn't had to evolve at all. It's exactly the same as it was before the dinosaurs even walked the earth,
Oh,
and it's still
wow.
growing now. So,
Is
yeah.
this what you call the non-flowering plants, like vascular plants?
Yes.
Like ferns and horsetails.
Yeah.
Those are the most primitive plants.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, this thing's been around since before the dinosaurs, since before we were even a sparkle in the universe's eye. This stuff was around, and it hasn't changed at all in all that whole time.
And they like moist soils, obviously.
Yes. Yeah. Moist and sandy in most cases.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
It's hot.
Yeah. You can see here where the sap is, where it's dripping there. If you look on this side here,
it looks more.
Oh yeah, I see it. Yeah.
I'm not gonna burn my hand like this. Right?
Yeah.
No,
It's sticky stuff, really sticky,
What's it
and
good for?
if it falls on top of your tent, and you go and you pack up your tent, and you roll it up and everything else, the next time that you go to use your tent, it's gonna be like crazy glued together. It's gonna be like you might as well have just put tar on it.
That's an
and
interesting
wrapped it
smell.
up in
Very
tar or something like that, yeah.
like piney or
Yeah,
like-
very, very piney
Yeah,
smell.
yeah. Check it out.
No, yeah, I know. When I was a child, we would stick our hands into the sap
Yeah.
and then sniff our fingers.
Yeah.
I remember.
What
But I
tree
don't know,
is
what do
this?
you call it again?
Pine pitch.
Oh,
Pitch.
pine.
Oh, pine. This is a
Yeah.
pine. What
Yeah.
kind of pine is it?
Yeah. Jack pine.
Jack pine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, jack pine.
Yeah. But this pitch is really, really flammable stuff. And
Flammable?
the natives used to use this pitch. They would melt it down, and when you see the old birch bark canoes and stuff like that, and you see like the patchwork of the birch bark, and there's that black stuff that seems to hold it all together.
Oh yeah.
That's this stuff.
Okay, I heard about that.
That's
Yeah.
this pitch, and you can use this pitch to make like if you use birch,
Mm-hmm.
and you can fold it into a box and make a fully waterproof box out of it. You can use it for making pails and stuff like that, make it fully waterproof and everything else, and yeah, it's really, really flammable stuff though. So if you're ever trying to get a fire going, you can take a piece of that pitch, and light it, and it'll burn like a candle for like a really, really long time. It doesn't matter what the weather's like outside. You can like put a lighter to it, and it'll burn and burn and burn and burn and burn. The only problem with it though is that when it falls on you. It's like hot wax or like a worse, hot plastic.
It's hotter than wax.
Yeah, it's like almost like a nylon or something like that. It'll burn you bad. So, you know, don't let it fall on you. But if you're using it to start your fire and stuff like that, it works great for that. But yeah, this picture, and in the summertime,
Wait, so this is a forest fire. This thing's gonna.
they go up like crazy. They go up like
yeah.
crazy, yeah. And that's the problem with mainly pine forests, is that if you have just a pine forest, there's a little bit of a fire. Next thing you know, the whole thing is wiped out. So.
But the aspen is fire resistant.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But the thing about that pitch is that it's great for starting campfires and stuff like that. You can take it and like put it right on top of your fire and put a light to it, and it'll melt. And when it melts, it just spreads it right over top of your fire, and it burns for a long, long time. Even if it's raining really heavy, even if it's really, really windy and stuff like that, it burns really, really well. So we usually carry around fire kits because we also teach a variety of different courses and stuff like that. And we carry around a fire pit where we go out and when we teach that course, we go out and we harvest this stuff, and we show people how to render it and everything else, and how to utilize it for your campfires and stuff like that. And you know, there's a million different fire starter packages that you can get on the market, and they're all fairly expensive. This, you can just walk out into nature. You don't need to carry it with you. It's just need to find the tree. Once you find the tree, you've got all the firepower that you need right there. You know. So once again, it's that thing about knowledge being power. You know, if you know what you can do and what you can use and stuff like that, there's lots of stuff that you can utilize in nature, and you don't even have to take out with you or pack out with you or anything like that.
These are too hard already. They're ready. You're gonna only.
Oh,
you can only
you
eat
know
the
about
tiny
it.
ones.
Yeah, yeah. But as you can see, they're like bamboo. Very much
They
like
look like
bamboo.
bamboo,
They're
yeah.
hollow in the center. All the way down.
So you can't do anything but eat them when the time is right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, you can eat them pretty much right from now until they die off in the fall.
Oh, but if they're too hard now, I guess.
No, right now they're fine. They're
Oh,
just
okay.
fine.
Oh yeah, you're right. They're not hard. You're right. They're just big.
Yeah, yeah. They'll get a lot bigger than this. They'll be like trees by the end of the season. So,
Wow.
yeah.
So they are part of the bamboo family.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, they are, right?
yeah.
Do you hear that little pop when you collect them?
Yeah, too, like taking the cork off of a champagne bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it says.
But
Oh, again.
these are invasive, and obviously they were brought from Japan this time because it's the Japanese knotwood. And the unfortunate thing about these is that they move into an area, and because they grow to be like, trees pretty much, they grow to be about 10 feet tall by the end of the season. They put shade all over the rest of the area, so it kills off all the natural plants that should be here.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Okay, there we go.
What are these?
These are May apples.
Huh?
These are May apples.
Oh, I heard about those. They're toxic though, right? Except
Yep.
for
Now,
2
see
weeks
this
of the
right
year.
here?
Yeah.
That's the only edible part on the plant.
the
The rest of it is highly toxic.
I heard
See
about
that
that.
next?
Oh yeah, getting a zoom in on that now.
Something so tiny deserves their name apples.
Yeah,
It
and
looks
it's
like
kind
an
of it's kind of a weird flavor. It's kind of like a cross between a tomato and a lemon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But when is it ready?
How do you even combine?
You'll tell when it's ready because the animals let you know.
No, but it's too early, obviously, right?
Yeah, way too early right now.
What color do they turn
they
into?
they get to be about that big, like the size of a large marble, and they get really hard when they get ripe, and usually you'll know that they're ready because the animals go along and they nip at them, just as they're starting to mature. They nip at them, and if you see one that's got a nip in it, you know it's not fully mature. If you see one that's got a couple of bites out of it, you know that one's fully mature. So. Yeah.
What color does it turn into?
It's just like another green.
It's always
Yeah,
green.
It's
That's
always
all.
green, yeah. But this is the May apple, and as far as a wild edible goes, I would just say leave it alone, because you have to wait until the fruit is perfectly ripe before you can eat it, and if you eat it before that, you can die. If you eat any other part of the plant, you can die. So when it comes to wild edibles, we call this a red flag wild edible, where it's kind of like with mushrooms and stuff like that. That there's so many different variables with this plant that it's best just to leave it alone and move on to something that's way easier to
Eat these raspberries instead.
Yeah, these are raspberries. Yeah.
Heck yeah,
But this is the May apple here, and the taste of them isn't too bad actually. Like I say, it's kind of like a weird cross between a tomato and a lemon. But I mean, it tastes all right and everything else, but there's very little that you can actually get off it. It's basically like the pith that's around the outside that's edible. So even for an edible, I mean, even if you found a giant crop like this, you're not getting much of a meal out of it. So, and on top of that, you could eat it at the wrong time of the year, or when it's not fully ripe, and end up dying because you didn't wait the extra couple weeks or whatever for that plant to ripen out. And it really literally only has a window of about a week. So yeah,
Don't
you've
take
got
any
basically a week
chances.
from when it's fully ripe till when it falls off the tree. So
Don't take any chances.
yeah, exactly. That's why we call it a red flag wild edible, where there's so many other things to choose from. You'd be a lot smarter just to choose from the other things that are available than to take something like this and you've got like a 50-50 chance that it won't kill you. You know, and for what? Because, you know, there's not much of a feeding that you're going to get
Right.
from it. So yeah. But this, the mayapple, they're actually really nice plants. I really love the canopy tops on them and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
it's
But
pretty.
yeah.
Pretty, yeah.
But yeah, basically the animals know when they're ripe before we do. And they're basically your best indicator of knowing when it's ripe, because you'll see mayapples all the time have like a nip take out of them. And somehow the animals just know it's not fully ripe yet. And they'll just take a nip out and then they'll spit it out. They'll taste it and spit it out. And if it's not right, they'll just spit it right back out. But if you see that there's one that's been all gnawed up and everything else, then
Well, assuming you do bite into a ripe one, what does it taste like?
it tastes like a cross between a tomato and a lemon.
Oh, that's right, you said
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
I
But
see
it's hard,
there's
right?
some
Yeah.
holes on the leaves, so some insects like to bite into the leaves.
Yeah, yeah. There's different insects that go into them, and they also naturally just do that themselves sometimes.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. Where the leaf will just continue to grow around, but
Oh.
in one spot it won't. Yeah, it's
Oh,
pretty
okay.
weird.
It's just a natural shape.
Yeah.